Sunday, September the 15th, the Ides of September 2019. I'm Ben. You guys know me. And who's that? That's Dylan Washburn, pedal guru extraordinaire at Flipside Music in Denver, Colorado, as well as you play in at least one band that I know of.
Well, yeah, I've been trying to do a three-piece for a while, but the other two guys I play with are pretty busy, so I'm trying to get something else going now at the time. Actually, Ike and I are kind of entertaining, trying to do something on the side now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. I think that'll be a very dynamic band because I know what you're into and I know what Ike does, so.
I think we could we've kind of thought about doing like some kind of mix of, well, blues and doom, but maybe even some slide. You know, Ike would maybe play bass and I'd play more of the guitar stuff. But honestly, I think we could probably switch back and forth and it'd be pretty fun.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Who do we got in the chat here tonight? We already got 30 people in here, apparently. We've got Mr. Bam Mozzie tuning in from the UK. My God, it's got to be, what, 2 a.m. there for him. We got Chuck Booth, Upside Down, Edwin Kane. Good to see you, mate, Edwin. Jeff Harper. Good to see you, buddy. Upside Down, Todd Flowers, Joe Hervey 84. Scrolling down, there's good friend Brian Landreth. Denny Allen. Brett McCord. Some guy named Ben Coombs in here. God knows who he is. Fake. Troll. There's Brad Miller, winner of the Mag Slide. He unboxed that earlier today. There's the designer to the stars, Lawrence Petross himself. We got PJ in the Beard from just south of me.
Oh, nice. Just talking about those.
Yeah. Oregon Steve. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to check out the LPD pedals, and then I think I went ahead and ordered Wren and Cuff too, so we got those coming too.
Nice. There's Dwight Bailey, Raging Chimera. Who else? Dan in New Jersey. My lovely sister Amanda. Wow, man, lots of people in here already.
Hey, everybody.
Jason Dean, Layla's Guitar Daddy. I think I'm caught up. Legendary Corn Dog. There's my cousin Doug. Good to see you, man. Rock in the Pocket, new name. Good to see you. Welcome. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe. Yes, there's Pearl Bar. I was going to mention that. I just found out about 20 minutes before we went live that Rick Ocasek passed away from the Cars. Quentin James.
Hey, Quentin.
Ron Limber. Andrew Walton. Good to see you, man. SDMF. Wow, all kinds of people. Yeah. So Eddie Money a few days ago and Rick Ocasek today.
Oh, really? Well, I hadn't heard about that one today.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, Eddie Money, that one was a surprise because he was just about 70, right? I mean, I guess that's still a good long run, but...
Yeah, and when he announced he had cancer, it was already like stage 3 or stage 4 cancer, which is usually not good.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Had a friend mention a family member not doing too well, so I'm just telling him no worries.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. No, that's always rough.
He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I might not be in the chat tonight. I was like, that's okay, you know, in the grand scheme of things. Todd Flowers says he was 75. Yeah, I didn't know Rick Ocasek was 75 either.
Wow.
But then when you start doing the math, you realize
you have to keep looking over this way. It's just with the display over there, it's kind of hard.
Yes, he's got everything spread out, folks. He's not totally linear like myself.
Yeah, I don't really do this stuff very well. I've never actually. This would be the first time. So at least, you know, we do it at the shop, but usually we have things kind of set up a little bit better ahead of time. I could kind of move this a little closer and see if that helps.
And I was going to say, it'll probably be you and Chris doing next week's What the FAQ.
Yeah, with Ike gone, I think he's leaving Thursday night, or maybe might be Thursday morning. But yeah, we'll have to do it. Probably, we might be able to squeeze it in before he goes. Sometimes we do that if we film him a little bit ahead of time.
Right, right. Yes.
But Chris has fun doing that too.
definitely subscribe to Flipside Music. Check out their YouTube channel. Dylan co-hosts a weekly What the FAQ show. So you type in your comment on one video, they'll answer it the next week. And the first Friday of each month, they go live with it. So definitely check it out. It's great stuff.
Yeah, we go live whenever we
really stump you guys.
Yeah, whenever we remember that it's the first Friday, we go live.
Yeah.
We've missed a few, like whenever it's like the second day of the month, somehow it just doesn't always click.
Right. Yeah, and usually those are the months where I'm texting you, right, going, "Hey, you going live tonight?"
Right.
And it's like, hang on. Yeah.
Yeah, we that's our thing, kind of the banana peel slide. I will always tell you that too.
There we go. My
sister kind of just getting in right on
awesome.
Time.
So funny. There we go. Awesome. Thanks, Jess. I agree. Dylan and I got to meet in person last year at Winter NAMM. That was fun. So.
Oh, it was fun. Yeah, with with JJ House of Jams. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was my first NAMM. I don't know if that was your first or not. I don't remember, but
it was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say definitely quite an experience when you haven't been before.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, there's Ike in the chat. Good to see you. Hey. We were just talking about your weekly What the Fact show. So, folks, if you're on your computer at home, you can click the 3 dots to the right of Flipside Music's name. Go over to the channel and subscribe if you haven't already. Hey, Guitar Hack. Good to see you. Yeah, we were just mentioning that Rick O'Case passed away. Crazy.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate any of the subscribes, too. We're kind of up and down all the time. So I think like I said, once we get some more of our own content, we're trying to get enough built up that we don't just have we don't have stretches where we're not putting a few in the ringer before we send them out.
I hear you. Quentin James says he's wearing his tone socks tonight. Brian Landry wore his Flipside shirt at his last gig, and I noticed Brad Miller was wearing his Flipside shirt when he went live today.
Yeah, we guarantee up to 7% more tone when you're wearing one of the shirts. Up to though. Could be anywhere in between. Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
But yeah, I guess tone.
Hey.
Or if you have more airy tone when you go. Yeah.
More airy tone if I go sleeveless or.
Yeah. Go sockless and sleeveless. Yeah. That's why the hippie jams are always so airy. There you go.
Exactly. Hey, 6-string Brian, Harmony. Of course, there's lots of love for Flipside on the channel. I don't know, it could be the subliminal messaging every time I go live using, the Flipside cozies or the t-shirts.
Yeah, we're hoping David kind of doing like a quarter just to kind of always keep it varied a little bit. Most of my closet's Flipside shirts at this point too.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
Hey, Ivan Carter's here. Man, we got 46 people watching. Nice. My sister says hit that thumb. Yes, if you haven't already, leave a thumbs up. If you can, share the video, raise awareness. We're trying to grow the channel to 2,000 subscribers for Winter NAMM. I don't know if it'll happen, but we're trying.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. It's always good to set those goals. Yeah, we haven't really set much goals. We just know progress is progress at this point.
Hey, there's Absolute Mayhem. Good to see you, man. Yeah, you got to do it,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, since we're what's that?
Oh, I was just saying, there's definitely a lot of people out there doing their thing, but I still think there's kind of room for everybody.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, it's like people ask me, why do you do gear demos when 100 other people are doing them? Well, it's because I personally like more than one opinion, and who knows, I might do something with the pedal that nobody else did. For whatever, because it's you playing it as opposed to anybody else. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. It's always kind of interesting because it's one thing like plugging in, actually hearing all the different customer stuff and cool stuff, especially when we'll get horn players, sax players, violinists, cello. I mean, all kinds of different people, and so it's always kind of cool to hear that stuff and a context outside of guitar.
Hey, Milt, good to see you, man. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about that guitar in your hand there?
This one's Christina Pickles from Texas Toast Guitars. So Ike actually gifted me this one. I think it was actually about a year ago now. They do like a yearly event called Texas Toast Days, which is actually happening this weekend right now. And last year they had it at a cool bar, but it was interesting. I ended up going in, and I was just kind of going to make sure give them some support and say hi and all that. And I honestly didn't expect to end up staying as long as I did, but I ended up picking up this guitar and I just couldn't put it down pretty much. And so I kind of noticed how much I was playing it. And so after the show, he ended up kind of talking to him, and he ended up getting it for me. And later that week, he ended up gifting it to me, which was pretty cool. So yeah, this is kind of slowly made its way into my number one slot for sure.
Nice.
One of those guitars, like every time you put it down, you're just like, man, I love that guitar.
Right. Very nice.
Yeah, it's kind of, I can't really tell because my display is not great, but if you guys can kind of see, it's sort of like a mix of like Italian Les Paul shape. They call it their Challenger kind of body type. But on this one, they ended up doing like a German carve around the whole kind of perimeter of it. And so it ends up being pretty damn thick, if you can kind of see that.
Right.
Yeah, it ends up weighing, I think it's about 14 pounds or so, somewhere in there.
Lord.
Yeah. So yeah, I actually have like this crazy Levy's like stretch strap. Ends up taking a good amount of the stress off of it, but I'm a big guy, so it's not really, it's heavy, but it's not that bad.
Right. I hear you. Everyone's saying hey to each other. So yeah, if you do have a question for either of us, definitely tag me in the question and we'll definitely answer away. I think between the two of us, we played a significant number of pedals and guitars over the years. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I think Ike definitely, in terms of the shop, has me beat in terms of playing guitars, but like the pedals are definitely kind of my thing, or at least what I contribute to the most there, I feel like. And I don't know, like to me, the pedals are just endless fun. It's kind of one of those things, like there are all kinds of different flavors out there, and all of them kind of have their merits. So
yep, I agree. Todd Flower says, shouldn't you be playing a Washburn? I'm sure you've never heard that one before.
Yeah, my grandpa's been telling me that for years to get a Washburn. We have one that's actually on consignment in the shop that is pretty cool. But yeah, I actually have a funny story. There was a guy at it was kind of like a Doom festival that Denver does every year. And so I was there, and this guy was actually playing like the Washburn equivalent of a Les Paul. And I just told him I wanted to just take a look at it because it looked like it was actually one of the more vintage ones. And he like really I think he thought I was going to grab it to actually pick it up. And normally I would never do that, but I asked him if I could look at it, and he's like, well, it doesn't have your name on it, does it? And I'm like, well, actually it does.
Yeah. Exactly. Hank Hill asks, anybody have an opinion on a Boss ME versus a Boss GT? I can't decide. I have limited experience with either of them. How about you, Dylan?
We've had like the ME80, and I think we've had used ME70s before. The GTs I haven't messed with as much, but as far as I know, the GTs are, especially when you start getting into like the GT, I think it's the 1000, but I might be off on that model number. But when you get into that one's definitely more on like the pro side of things, whereas I feel like the ME stuff it's definitely solid, and we've actually used them at the shop for a while to kind of show customers, like if we have a customer that comes in that doesn't really know like the vocabulary of like what a flanger is, what a phaser is,
sure,
what a chorus is. We kind of use it to kind of go through all that stuff and show them that this is what it is, and that way they get a one-to-one relation of what they're hearing versus what we're verbally saying. Because trying to describe sonic stuff to somebody that hasn't heard it before is just impossible sometimes. So that's
Right.
the ME80 is actually really good as just an introductory pedal platform that will kind of give you an idea of like whatever all these different effects are doing.
Right.
And it's definitely pretty solid, but the GT stuff, as far as I know, is definitely more like the pro side of things. Like people will tour with those and just run them out to like the PAs, and that's all they'll run.
Sure. It looks like the chat is voting more the GT.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's in my experience. That's what I haven't played a lot of those. Like we've had a GT come through a customer. I think it was using one, but as far as I know, they're just a little more pro than like the ME stuff.
Right.
The ME stuff's kind of introductory stuff.
Right. Lawrence Petross Design asks, does Dylan have a most anticipated LPD pedal? One he's most looking forward to checking out?
Probably the 74. The more I was looking at it, I actually that or even the 87 with that. I was kind of intrigued by your green and red channel on that one, or the mode switch. And honestly, I always love like the Marshall style boxes because all of them are all just a little bit different, and so I'm those are the ones I'm really looking forward to. The Fuzz I'm interested in too because I've been watching a few videos on that one, and I feel like all of them are really, really different. So I want to definitely see what that one's like firsthand.
I agree.
But yeah, that 74, at least from what I've heard so far, was probably my favorite.
Dude, it's classic rock in a box. It's Aerosmith in a box.
Like when you have a full 3-band EQ, you have a presence control. Like to me on that stuff, it's all, if you're gonna have a preamp style pedal, then it makes sense to have the controls you more or less have on the amp.
Well, 4-band, right? Low, mid, high, and presence.
Yeah.
I just had to look at mine.
Well, yeah, having a presence control, because a lot of times, like I feel like people that maybe do studio stuff, well, I don't know. I guess I can't say that for sure, but I feel like in a band setting, having a presence control always helps because it's kind of that control just past like the high end stuff, and when you're trying to like find your spot in the mix, I feel like a lot of people don't overlook the presence control, but I feel like it is kind of not, more or less a misunderstood control sometimes.
Yep. I usually pretty much dime it on my stuff because then you're going to cut. You just know.
Yeah. It's weird on like Marshall style things or anything that's in that vein. I always like it really high, but like on Fenders for some reason, especially like the 6L6 Fenders, I just can't stand some of the high end that it does introduce like past a certain point. Right. So I kind of keep it low on Fenders, but.
Let's see. Brian Landreth asks, if and how often does a truly exceptional guitar come through the shop?
Honestly, the further we're getting along, we're kind of coming in, having a good experience, and telling like their friends or bandmates or other people they play with, and so now we're getting a lot of people bringing actually like really cool consignment pieces in, and like just last month we ended up moving at least 10 consignment pieces that were all really nice, and this month we right towards the beginning of the month, we had somebody bring in like 9 more. He had like a really cool double cut Les Paul that was in that classic TV yellow with the P90s, which that one was a pretty solid one. And then he had this really awesome, I think they were calling it like Candy Tangerine. It was this kind of limited run of American Strats that he ended up bringing. He had all kinds of cool stuff. So I would say like the further we're getting, the more that's happening. And honestly, we get a lot of cool ones. Guys always bring stuff in to do show and tell, of course. So that's always pretty cool too.
Awesome.
But yeah, I would say.
I want to remind everyone that if you haven't already, subscribe to Guitar Hack as well. He's pushing for 1,000 subscribers, so really help out the channel if you can, folks. Puts out some good stuff, and if you don't like his stuff, blame me because I helped him go live. So there we go. Jay Steen asks, what's your favorite germanium fuzz?
Well, actually, recently we had a customer, and I cannot remember the name. I'm going to have to look it up. It was just yesterday, but we had kind of a pretty chaotic day yesterday. But it's this guy out of the UK that does these clones. It's basically the Super Fuzz and then the companion Fuzz, but he does it in one box. And you basically toggle between the two. And honestly, that one in terms of germanium fuzzes, because he uses germanium transistors on that one. And that one so far has probably been my favorite, but forgive me for like not knowing the name. Like I said, it was kind of chaotic yesterday. Ike might remember. We have this customer that's been like really trying to get us to get a hold of the guy.
Frederick?
Some limited run stuff. So
yeah, he says Frederick, but I don't know if that's a misprint.
Oh no, I think that was it. Yeah, he's out of the UK, and I guess he does some pretty limited run stuff, but he does really like faithful recreations of the old Univox Super Fuzz.
Right.
And like he does the circuit on there too, which is a fun one because if you like octave fuzzes, it's a really fun pedal to play.
Right.
Yeah, actually, currently I don't really have any personally germanium fuzzes in my collection, but we have different ones that have come through the shop. We had what was it, the man, trying to remember. It was another Fuzz Face clone, but the guy, what was the name? Pardon me, sorry. When we get these one-off pedal companies, sometimes I have a hard time recalling, but sometimes people just bring them in to show us, and it's not always something we can necessarily stock at the shop,
Well, let's see. Friday, I messaged you. I said, "What? Are you good to go for tomorrow?" And you're like, "You mean Sunday?" I'm like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
Oops. And you're like, "Yeah, no worries." I'm like, "Yeah." 6 String Brian's only 7 away from 300. There's got to be 7 folks in here not subscribed to 6 String Brian. We got 58 people watching. Apparently, we're going into a rally mode tonight, so it's all
nice.
good. I do expect shout-outs on your next streams as well, folks. I'm just saying, I am pushing for 2,000 by Winter NAMM, just saying. So,
yeah, we try to always throw something in ours, the live ones and the regular ones.
Oh, I know. I do appreciate it. So, yeah, and I do get a kick out of it because for a while there, it was getting to a bigger and bigger name each episode.
Yeah, well, eventually we'll upgrade you, as time goes on. That's kind of how like the Dingus title works at the shop too. Like the longer you stick around, the better you get in terms of your Dingus title. And some people peak out, like Ike's at Boss Dingus. He's gonna have a hard time really getting much further than that one. But we had one guy. He comes in all the time and he's hilarious. But he started out. He ordered this Disaster Transport Senior from Earthquaker, and so for the longest time, we were calling him Disaster Dingus, and then it progressed to Ginger Dingus, and he's got I think he's had a few different ones in the interim since then.
Nice. Let's see. That's right. Lawrence Petross says, well, hell, if we were rallying, hit my channel up. Yeah, no kidding. If you're into effects pedals, and especially if you like Lawrence Petross's stuff, I hope you're all subscribed to his channel. Because he puts out a lot of sneak peeks on pedals before they're even released. He'll put up like a little 1-minute video and just enough for you to go, what is that? And why do I need it in my life?
Just a taster. Yeah. It's like the little sampler when you go to a brewery. It's just enough to intrigue you. But
Yeah. Just enough to make you thirstier.
Yep.
Captain JMO or Hymo? Ike says.
Yeah, Captain JMO. Yeah, that's Disaster Dingus upgraded to Ginger Dingus. He also, Captain JMO we had this idea of having him eventually be like, we almost want to do like fake commercials at some point. And so we were going to have JMO be like this character that just randomly interrupts like the filming of these commercials. And so we were going to have him put like one of those old metal colanders on his head and do like the antennas and the whole thing. And so we're going to try to get him to do that at some point.
I love it. Hey, Alex Radford. Good to see you.
You ever watch like the Tim and Eric show, like the Dr. Steve Brule?
That does ring a bell.
Yeah, it was like this character that John C. Reilly does.
Okay.
I'll have to look him up like whenever you're done with this, but he does these hilarious skits. But that's basically we were gonna like fuse Captain JMO with like Dr. Steve Brule and see what ended up kind of happening from that.
Hey, Gary Holt. Good to see you. Yes, we were mentioning earlier, Rick Ocasek passed away at 75. Let's see, True Tech. Good to see you. Keep those questions coming in.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, feel free to plug anybody who has a channel, because like I said, I'm obviously not like Rhett Shull. I'm not gonna be bringing a lot of people myself.
We all can't be Rhett.
Right.
We all want to be Rhett, but we can't be.
You know, I really do like those videos though that him and Rick Beato do. They're definitely pretty interesting, and I like the subjects they kind of tackle, because they do wide subjects, but they also get into some really nitty gritty stuff too, which is good.
I agree, and those ones seem to speak a little more to my level. You know, it's like I'll see Rick going live, and I'll jump into his chat, and within a minute and a half, I'm completely lost.
Yeah, he can go pretty far, especially if you catch it like out of context. I've done that before too, and he'll touch on some stuff that, well, too, I never really had much like classical training when it comes to guitar, so there's a lot of stuff that I'm still trying to learn, and even in terms of just some of that vocabulary, and so sometimes I'll miss a lot of that stuff myself.
Ike says you got 50 more than we get. We're working on that. Yeah, it was funny, but you and that show that you and Chris were doing, that was literally because you guys, I got the notification you guys went live literally as I was wrapping up a live stream. I think I had maybe 2 minutes left in it. So I'm just like, everybody go raid Flipside. And
yeah, I
got home and I didn't know what was up. But so like I jumped in and you're like, hey, you idiot, thanks, type thing. And we ended the show. So after you ended, I went back and watched the beginning. And it was so funny because I think that was the first time Chris ever hosted. So he's just playing it normal. You're like, no, this isn't normal, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. I mean, all kinds of things end up happening at the show. It's like, I think Dave's done at least 1 or 2 with me now. And it's kind of the same thing. Like if somebody leaves, we just kind of have to sub somebody in. And so now we're trying to kind of integrate everybody. And eventually we're going to get to where everybody's doing like their own thing. Like Chris is really into the acoustic stuff, and actually he kind of had an accident with involving a knife and a watermelon, but anyway, he ended up having to learn some slide guitar, so he's going to be doing some stuff with that too. And then Dave's our music instructor, so he's now that we're doing like the Flipside School of Music, he's going to be doing more content for us, like through the shop channel, and we're going to have more stuff on social media from him as well. And then we have Nick Hines. He's also like our luthier at the shop. We're hoping he'll start doing like some more tech videos, or luthier oriented tech videos.
I agree. Great idea.
Yeah, and then Ike's always, I think he's going to be doing like his own channel at some point here, but he's going to also be kind of trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, well, maybe Ike's own channel is going to be woodworking and meatball making, I think.
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah,
and mostly the meatballs. I'm fairly certain, but
yeah, nothing wrong with that. PJ here says
amazing sauce. Like I thought I knew what pasta sauce was up to a point, and then like he made some, and yeah, it's definitely like I barely even want other pasta and sauce now. Right.
PJ in the Beard says, great of you to support other channels. Enjoyed you popping in the other night. Hey man, I enjoyed it. It was cool. You opened up a couple of pedals that I hadn't heard of before. So, you always learn something when you pop into a live stream. And apparently Quentin James is getting the infamous Gomer caster tomorrow.
What is that?
This would be it's a guitar that was built by Dr. Dave out in Arizona. I think it's a telly kit that he put together, or, a homemade telly. So they nicknamed it the Gomer caster and sent it off to Quentin James.
The Gomer caster, I like it.
Yeah, that's rather fitting for Quentin. So
yeah.
Oh, he didn't like it. I think he left. I think there's scorpions in the case.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah. And Mozzie says everyone should put in a link to Lawrence's channel whenever demoing his pedals. I agree. I think most people shout it out and stuff anyhow, but we try. We try.
Yeah.
It could be worse than yesterday. On a pedal you can't buy. So I just said, oh, yeah, contact Lawrence. And when I think it was Paul Ewing, he commented, he goes, it's nowhere on his site. I'm like, no, you need to contact him. Bug him. He'll make one if you bug him enough.
Yeah. Well, it looks like he does a lot of limited run stuff and kind of one-offs and things. So that's definitely always pretty cool because we always get customers too that are kind of intrigued by some of that. So it'll be kind of interesting to see down the road. Because we have a few local builders too that are entertaining doing some of that. But if we could get somebody like Lawrence doing that stuff, that'd be pretty cool too. So.
Yeah, usually it's 1 or 2 runs of 10 to start with, and if there is a good demand, then it will become a production model.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. That's kind of what we sort of ended up doing with the Demogorgon. I mean, once we heard it, we kind of knew it was going to be pretty awesome, but one of those ones too, like it's really, honestly, it's really tough to get it in demo videos because when you get it through the right rig, like especially like this green tower behind me, when you get it going through that, like it'll mess you up for any other fuzzes. Like other fuzzes will just be, if you're into big muffs anyway, other ones will just be kind of lifeless sort of after a point.
And Guitar Hack says, Lawrence, you need to make more of these, the Lost Dutchman. So this pedal, Dylan, it's got it's a 2-channel. You got a punch circuit. If the punch is off, it's kind of in the vein of a Timmy. Turn the punch on, and it's more like a balls out plexi.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I do like that because a lot of his pedals, too, it's nice because when you switch channels, you don't have to reset everything. Like, it's just 2 different things, and they both sound good because it's still your tone settings.
Yeah, the EQ is roughly staying similar. You're just getting a different voicing, which, yeah, it's always kind of fun.
Yeah, I love that because like if you're gigging, literally, you can take the spot of 2 pedals. All you have to do is remember to reach down, flip the switch between songs, and you're good to go.
Right. Yeah, that was why I was intrigued by his 1987 because he looked like he had the green and red channel on that one, and that one, it sounded like the red channel was going to be more. I always like the ones that are a little more saturated, where it feels like it's sagging just a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that red channel, it's more or less like a Jose modded JCM.
Oh, okay, that'd be perfect, yeah. That'd be pretty awesome then.
Which I thought was cool because, you could just model it on a JCM, or you can go for the Jose modded JCM that everybody was lusting over back in the day.
Right.
And I do hear that extra mojo. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah. No, it's that one's definitely one I want to check out when it gets in for sure.
Yeah. I think it's got to be up there as one of his higher sellers. That in the 68.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, that's why, like I said, the 74 was intriguing to me because it feels like a lot of companies just as a whole tend to go, or just builders in general tend to go with like the 68 and stuff in between.
Right. Exactly. And I wanted the 74 just because I was born in 74. So I just thought, well, there we go. It's kids.
Oh, yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Hey, Metalhead Hippie. Good to see you.
Oh, nice. Yeah, he throws
ABC Rich. Yeah, we did mention that earlier. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a few familiar names in here. Something happened to Guitar Hack's rig last night. That's not good. Got to try the 74 at some point, Guitar Hack says. I agree, dude, because I know the tones that you're going for, and you would love it. We can talk. I've used the 74 for a few months here, and it doesn't go on my board as often, so if you're interested, Hack, hit me up.
Nice. What do you, what other kind of, flavors on it in terms of, do you feel like that one can navigate a pretty wide range? Like if you back the gain off, does it get kind of more into that JTM 45 range?
I have the 87 on my board, and the green channel of the 87 can cover a lot of the ground of the 74, I find.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. You take everything off, you kind of go back in time. That makes sense.
Yeah. Anyone own a rev pedal by any chance? Joe Hervey's asking. I do not.
I do. Yeah, actually,
Which
I
one?
have I got the G4 on my board right now, the red one.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it was interesting. I really liked the G3, and the G2 actually just came out, which on the amps themselves, I enjoyed that one or that channel the most. But when it comes to the pedals, I feel like the G4, to be totally honest, I feel like the G4 can kind of do what the G2 does. Same thing, like we just said, if you back the gain off, it kind of reins it in just a little bit, and it can kind of cover a similar range that the G2 does. But the G3 is just a little more modern in terms of the voicing, and so I don't care for that one quite as much, just because
Right.
I kind of like older flavors, but for like modern purposes, I guess.
I dig it. I dig it.
Yeah, and they're another one that does they do like a red, basically they call it their aggression switch, but it's essentially like a voicing switch, and you've got the red channel and or red aggression and the blue aggression, and then you can turn that off. If you turn it off, it kind of opens the pedal up a little bit. Not quite as gainy, not quite as I guess the low end character changes a good bit. I feel like it kind of tightens up when you turn that off. Whereas like if you go to the red aggression, you get a little bit saggier low end. It never gets like flubby, but it just, you have a little bit more squish in terms of the pick attack.
Right.
The blue channel or the blue mode on the aggression, it kind of gets it closer to like what the G3 would do once you get into like that higher gain territory.
Metalhead Hippie says he's getting a G4 soon.
Yeah, we actually got to restock ourselves at the shop. We moved more of those than the other two so far, but that might be because some of us, like Chris owns one. Ike's kind of thinking about getting one. It's just like, it's one of those ones. It's a really fun pedal. I mean, it reacts really well with other pedals in terms of stacking, and just a fun pedal.
Right. Let's see. Lawrence says I'm splitting hairs here, but I think the green channel of the 87 is drier and has less saturation than the 74 at similar setting. The 87 is a bit more aggressive than the 74. I would agree, but I can get it into that realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we may be able to do a trade hack. No, I'll just get another 74 players anyways, because I want the complete lineup.
Yeah.
The only thing wrong with the 74 hack is it's signed to Brian Stewart, so you got to put up with that.
Well, you can either wear it off or tape over it if you had to, I guess.
It's written on the inside of the cover. Lawrence is one of these guys that'll date them and sign them, and sometimes they're personalized. And no, I haven't looked at the new pedals yet, folks. So I'll get that cover off. No, should I?
Matt from Stomp on Our Foot, he usually signs the bottom of them, but he knows that people tend to put Velcro, so he always signs the inside too, just to make sure.
Right.
Yeah, it was kind of funny when we got our first run of the Demogorgons. I ended up going with 11, and at the time, like not a lot of people, because we were going more Dungeons and Dragons in terms of the vibe with it, I guess.
Sure.
If you can have a vibe for a pedal that way, but anyway, we were going that way, but Stranger Things obviously was out, and so I went with 11, thinking it was kind of funny, just to kind of tie the two together a little.
I hear you on that. Guitar Hack's like, what? Nope, forget it then. Have you done any of the Haunted Lab stuff?
Sorry, say that again?
Have you tried any of the Haunted Lab stuff?
I haven't, other than that kind of collaboration they did with the Carolina Reaper with Cusack. That's the only one I've tried so far, but I haven't tried any of just their stuff yet.
Okay. And what'd you think of that Carolina Reaper?
Oh, I really like it. It was really cool because it really, each side of it independently is pretty great, but when you stack them together, it's definitely a lot of fun. I'm always a big fan of stacking drives and fuzzes. Yeah. And so that one, having that bias control on the fuzz, you can definitely get a lot of different textures with that. Yeah. And even if you just put the fuzz control, you can kind of use that as a whole nother end of it in terms of just a lot of different spots in between, you know, where it's not just a strictly fuzz, you know, or strictly overdrive. It's, you know, all those kind of tasty spots between.
Hey, Craig, and hey, Dave Matheson. You see, Dave? Lawrence says all the Flipside music pedals were built, dated, and signed on Friday the 13th.
That's pretty great. A little extra mojo.
I will say, as a follow-up, that Carolina Reaper, going into Summer NAMM, I didn't like fuzzes at all. And my buddy Aaron there, he's like, dude, you got to, you know, he introduced me to Chris, who owns Haunted Labs. And he's like, dude, you got to try this fuzz. I was like, you know me. And I'm like, okay. And I started playing it. And I guess he had already told Chris my opinion of fuzzes. And he just starts grinning as I'm playing it. He's like, you like it, don't you? I'm like, oh, I love this. I was like, I need these. And he just starts laughing.
What did you like about that one, like, versus, because I find that a lot, like, fuzz is one of the ones we struggle with. It's not like one we struggle to sell at the shop, but it's more of like we have to let people try just a ton of them before they find the right one usually.
And
it's not something like I can be like, you know.
I have a hard time running a fuzz pedal in a clean amp.
Oh, okay.
Hey, yeah, Gaming, Gary Tholander. See, Craig, good to see you.
Once you find a good jumping off spot, you know, it's weird. Like all of a sudden you'll start getting into other fuzzes, even if it's not, not something you normally use.
Exactly.
It's something.
Yes, Brian Lynch says, I tried to turn you on to fuzz too. Well, you got me because when you sent me the fuzz, I left my Dumble drive on while I turned on the fuzz, and I discovered into a Dumble preamp it just sounded phenomenal, or Dumble-esque, I guess. And that's where really, you know, which is a mild overdrive like a clone.
For a sec, so sorry about that.
Quite all right, quite all right. Yeah, if I you run a fuzz into a something like a clone that's just a little gainy, it just changes the attitude.
Yes, no, that's something definitely like fuzzes, like stacking fuzzes with other drives is probably my favorite part about fuzzes because you get a total texture shift with fuzzes that you just don't always get with overdrives. And so to me, like tightening up a fuzz or even like you said, running a fuzz and then running that into like a clone style pedal, you get these cool hybrid spots that are just a lot of fun. You know, and honestly too, the amps make a massive difference because some fuzzes just don't react great with certain amps. It's just it's really hard to get around that sometimes, but it's just one of those things like for me, like the big muffs with like the high watt style amps, it softens because, you know, high watts are really stiff usually. So having like a big muff, it just softens it a bit.
The chat seems to be half and half. I'm seeing half the comments are I love fuzz, half of them they hate fuzz, and we have super fuzz in the chat. Nice. Craig took a LPD family photo tape. Oh, I gotta see that. I'll have to check that out. I like those.
So for you, like, is it a sonic thing or is it more of a textural thing that, in terms of not liking fuzzes?
Well, I found because I was using them wrong largely. Like I play mostly chords, you know, and it was just so muddy. There was no note definition or anything like that. You know, playing not just classic rock, but getting into rockabilly and stuff like that, you know, which is largely a cleaner tone, but I like playing kind of high gain rockabilly.
Right.
And I couldn't until ironically, I was like, literally, this doesn't make sense. Putting it into a dirtier signal should give you even less clarity, but it does somehow cancel each other out somehow where you get better note definition and it sounds more like an overdrive than a fuzz.
Yeah. Well, certain amps, especially if they're already breaking up, then they're already gonna, it's not really full on compression, but you know, you could get them to that point, of course, but I think to me, it the way it rounds off certain things, and fuzzes, like I said, to me, they're equal parts like a sonic shift as much as they are a texture thing. And I think a lot of people have more issues, at least that we see at the shop. People have more issues like with the the texture of it, because we'll get guys that are more, you know, shred guys, and what they, you know, I use this analogy a lot, but I always say they'll try to sprint through mud is basically what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's not, you know, I don't want to say it's not the intended use, because you can do whatever you want with the stuff, but it definitely isn't always best suited to that.
Exactly, Lawrence. He says he likes fuzz into a Marshall style tone, into a Fender. They're a bit fizzy. Yep.
Yeah.
With the exception of the Phoenix. Yeah. Well, go figure. He built a crazy fuzz there. Like, that thing is very versatile.
Nice. Yeah, I think we have that one coming in too. And that's why, like I said, I've watched a few videos. I watched his, and then I watched well, I think it was mainly his that I was watching, and it looked like it was, you know, there were so many spots in between that it was something I definitely have to hear in person before I can make like a real determination. But it seemed like it was pretty versatile for sure.
Yeah. I agree. It's on my list. That and his new Vermin pedal, which is kind of I won't say his take on a Rat, but it goes into that kind of territory. Except
the distortion kind of thing.
Yeah. It's nice.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna say, if, hopefully sometime when you can come out this way, I'll have to set you up with more or less my approximate rig and just see if I can convert you into the world of fuzz a little bit more.
I'd be down for it.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, it was actually something I used to, when I first met Ike, because he has a real hard time with fuzzes too. There's certain ones, like, he'll love the, you know, the sonic qualities of it, but he can't stand the way it feels. And so that was something, like, for years, both of us we just couldn't find one that we were all that happy with. And just like slowly, I don't know if it's like an exposure thing, like the more you dose yourself with it, the more you want it. But
right.
That's just one of those things. Now
I hope I don't go down that fuzz rabbit hole, because my God, you know, for every pedal on the market, half of them are fuzzes, it seems.
Yeah, drives and fuzzes are definitely, you know, two of the huge market. But see, I think fuzz is a big part of that, is just because everybody wants something different. And it's not so much that they want it to sound different. It's just everybody, like, when they hear something or feel a fuzz, they always take something away that's, you know, not the same as everybody else. So.
Dan in New Jersey uses the Wicker fuzz. That's a neat one. My sister's asking for more thumbs ups, folks. Brian Landreth is asking, what is the fuzz on the song American Woman? I think that was actually just a really cranked small amp, and the Les Paul that was actually owned by a buddy of mine until recently.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it just happened that song, they wrote American Woman on the road, and my buddy's dad and uncle were in a band that was on tour opening for them. And so they spent a day in the studio. And at that time, I guess Randy wasn't playing a Les Paul or anything, but he wanted a Les Paul for the guitar solo. And so we borrowed my buddy's dad's Les Paul, which he had just picked up. And then he had it forever. And then I think only last year or so, I guess Randy contacted him and asked to buy it from him, because he was amassing guitars again. Because I know he downsized a few years ago, and now he's buying again. And so he's like, yeah, you know, give it a good home, because he's a bass player by trade, mostly a music producer these days. He doesn't really gig at all. And when he does, he plays bass. So, hey, why not convert the money from, you know, a 60s Les Paul?
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, on that one, you know, I mean, it's weird. A lot of that stuff, especially in that time period, I feel like even though it might sound fuzzy, like you said, it's usually just the amp cranked up, or even like some kind of germanium booster or something that's just giving it a little more hair.
Right. Exactly.
That's the whole thing. Even like with Tony Iommi, we still get, you know, like, it's just funny because a lot of people still ask me, like, what fuzz did Tony Iommi use? And it's like, I always got to explain that, you know, the treble booster, it's this weird spot somewhere in between drives, boosts, and fuzzes. And it has like that missing Tony Iommi thing that you just don't get out of like trying to buy a fuzz onto a clean amp, you know?
Yep. Yeah, those the original electro harmonics ones that you could either plug into your guitar or into the amp, whatever end you want to put it on. And it was basically an inline item. I saw a bunch of those for sale during Winter NAMM when I took the Sunday off. We went to the vintage guitar show, and a guy had a table with like 10 of them on it. I'm like, you don't see one of these normally, let alone a guy with 10 of them.
Yeah, in like 4 years, we've only had one come through. I saved it for the shop, but yeah, it's in rough shape, but it still works, and it actually sounds really great. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, like whoever had this, like, definitely got their use out of it. That's for sure.
Let's see. Dan New Jersey says, I believe Eric Johnson uses a germanium fuzz face. I believe you're correct. Hey, Aaron Songs. Good to see you, man. Everyone else that's been joining in, again, if you're new, please subscribe and leave a thumbs up if you're new or returning. And keep those questions coming. We'll go for a bit longer here still.
So what's like another pedal you feel like you have a hard time kind of getting into in terms of like a category?
Digital delays.
Okay, yeah, I'm actually kind of right there with you on that one. Yeah.
You know, it's just and not sound like the 80s, right?
Well, yeah, they're so sterile for the most part. I mean, there's some of them obviously that have progressed quite a bit, but a lot of them are just very sterile, and I have a hard time with that. I always kind of like the tape style echoes for sure.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah, there's not a whole lot that I haven't come across other than stuff I'll just not bother with, like a ring modulator. Just yep, that's a ring modulator.
Yeah, like I said, other than maybe like a weird intro or some kind of spacey part where you're feeding it into like a delay or something.
Right.
But yeah, I have a hard time with those too.
Yeah, intro, outro, bridge. That's about it. But definitely not an always-on pedal.
No.
I've been just getting into stacking different pedals, stuff like that, and whatever comes through the door too. It's because it seems like every pedal I own, I'm going to demo at some point.
Right.
And so, fortunately, I've had a lot of people send me some pedals this year. So, nice. I think I've got to knock out 3 or 4 tomorrow because we've got some family in town. So, I'm not going to be around YouTube much this week. And so, it's like, okay, tomorrow I have to shoot it so I can get it uploaded to release it later in the week.
Yeah, get loaded up with content before you go. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think I've only got 2 or 3 videos in the can right now, and they're all guitar demos. And so I do 1 guitar, 1 pedal each week.
Okay.
How about a theremin, Brad Miller? I definitely
love to have one, actually. I don't know like what I'd do with it, where I'd put it, but I'd love to have one.
Yeah, just handy to have on stage, why not?
Yeah. Well, just be endless fun. Honestly, like with how far effects have progressed, I feel like that would be one of the more fun ones to use in tandem with some other effects now.
Right. Hey, Mark, good to see you. Edwin says, I hate noise gates that fizzle. Yeah. I find noise gates, they compress too.
Yeah, noise gates in general, it was something I used to think that I really needed. And, especially if you're doing, any metal where you got to have super, like the thrash stuff, death metal, anything where you're going for super tight distortion.
Yeah.
Where you have a lot of gain going. I can definitely see like their use there because a lot of those guys just need it to clean up just a little bit. But the rest of the time, I just feel like it kills your sustain, and I just it was weird. I used to think I had to have one, and like now I stay clear of them now.
Right. Chuck Booth says, "What about an Ebo?" Oh, I've messed with them. I leave that to Richie. In our last band, he used an Ebo. Nice. Well, for one song, anyways, because we did Heroes, so you pretty much have to use an Ebo for Heroes.
Right. Yeah, those are pretty fun. Those even the Sustainiac pickup, it's kind of a fun one to mess with that too. It's not something I necessarily feel like I need, but it's just fun.
Yeah, I think actually I did have a pedal come on my radar, and I think I might pick up the Electro Harmonix Oceans 11 because it's got a few. Like I would like some reverb with what do they call it? The shimmer?
Yeah, with the octave reverb setting. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm getting into some of that, kind of adult contemporary rock type thing where you could play with a clean tone, but you got to have the shimmer. You got,
Yeah, a lot more atmosphere. Yeah.
Thank you, Showman.
It's a good one for that. It's definitely, it covers a lot of territory, which is it's not bad. So.
Yeah, and it had something else that it's got a nice drip reverb too, and I don't have a drip reverb.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's especially for the surfy stuff. That's always fun. But yeah, the sells pretty good at the shop. It was weird when it first came out. It was kind of sat for a little bit, but now we actually move them pretty regularly now that everybody's pretty familiar with them.
All right, Guitar Hack has to head out. We'll see you. I believe are you live on Tuesday, Hack? If so, let us know. Chorus, any faves like the CE5 funny in my teens I hated Boss? Dave asks. Yeah, dude. I've had a Boss CE2 since I was 15 years old. And I've yet to find something better than a Boss CE2 because that's the sound of the 80s right there. Yeah,
I was going to say, I mean, I feel like at least 3/4 of the market on choruses has to be based on that one, more or less. But it's weird, the chorus isn't one I've always felt like it was another one I didn't mess with too much, but I actually really love the old Blood Noise Reflector.
Right.
That one is one of the coolest choruses out there by far. Like, especially if you want something that's not like the CE2s are great for sure, but if you want something that's definitely not a CE2, that one's a fun one.
Okay, so Hack, you're back Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Awesome. We'll see you there. PJ and the Beard's got to head out, and they got a live show tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern Pacific. 9:30 Eastern, I do believe. I think I saw a timer for that.
Nice.
Well, I kept a CE2 or a chorus pedal always on my board because generally there was like a reggae type song that we would cover in the night. And, it's nice to clean up the tone, throw the chorus on for that reggae. So, I used to cover the Edie Brickell song. Was it What I Am? And you got to have it for that. Or at least one of the guitar players has to have it. So, I covered that for 3 years. So
I've always felt like chorus is one of those things too. Like if it's somebody who doesn't like play or doesn't, isn't into effects, it's one of those things you can turn on and people are instantly like, oh, that's awesome. It's just funny. Yeah. It's just, it's one of those kind of easy ones to go for on that.
Yep.
Definitely
I like my phasers.
I love phasers. Yeah. I was just saying the reflector though, sometime you should check it out. It's if you like, like I said, one that's not quite like a CE2, it has an octave setting to it, which is actually really cool.
Cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah, phasers are definitely, if we're like in the realm of like chorus versus phasers versus flangers, I'm definitely more in the more in the phaser vein of things.
Ooh, so TrueTech mentions the Boss heavy metal pedal. I used to have one of those, and I regret getting rid of it.
Yeah, it's become quite the notorious pedal now. I almost feel like it's catching up to the metal zone.
Yeah, I don't remember what I must have traded it for something, like, because obviously I don't own it anymore, but I have no idea. Hey, Maurice, good to see you.
It's that slash, that classic, Swedish chainsaw sound that, it's thing. Like we had a customer bring by, I think it's called the Angry Swede. It's like a mini version of the HM2. And it actually wasn't bad. I mean, HM2s, it's a distinct tone for sure. So if you like it, then you definitely probably like the Angry Swede. But the HM2 sound's not always for everybody.
I have a modded metal zone. So it's got a tri-gain mod in it. So 3 different voicings.
Nice.
It's quite interesting. I don't have it right now. Absolute Mayhem bought it or borrowed it the last time he was over. And he's been totally into modeling stuff. So he may have started... I thought he may have started down the pedal rabbit hole, but then he went and rented a Helix for a month. So who knows? Eddie Van Haskell, good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's funny. We've had a fair share of customers come through that make the switch, and then they typically kind of come back. Anybody that likes to have individual tactile controls on things, and usually ends up kind of coming back to that. But
exactly. Metalhead Hippie asks, do you guys do any stuff with Fuzz Lord effects?
We haven't yet. I was gonna say Ike and I have actually been watching his channel for quite a bit.
I just said this channel the other day.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's pretty closely tied in with the Does It Doom guy, and he actually did a review for the Demogorgon for us and for Stomp Underfoot, which was a pretty cool one. And it was actually a really good demo. He used a Monolord song as like the main track that he was kind of looping as he went through the pedal, and I felt like that was a good exhibition of it, just because, like I said, that pedal is kind of hard to capture. Just when you're in the room with it, it's a different beast. So, but that was a cool one. And like I said, the Fuzzlord guy, we've been watching his channel for quite a while. I just haven't. I don't know if we've really reached out to him yet, but we definitely should.
He's on the radar. We'll say that.
Yeah.
Krellbar says PV XXX was a beehive. That's why I sold mine. Ironically, my B52 amp that I've been playing exclusively through for about 5 months is based off the PV XXX, or that's the closest comparison I found when I was, because we're researching my B52, because I was convinced it was based off of Mesa Boogie, but then we found out.
People always used to tell me that too, in terms of the B52s, that it was more or less like the working man's boogie.
Yeah, I love it because it's got that low resonance option. It's got a mid contour, although I don't use the dirty channel lately, but I love it. Heavy is all sin for a 112 combo, but
nice.
I think it's like 60, 65 pounds or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's almost, almost a Mesa weight.
Yeah. And they send it with casters, so.
Yeah. Yeah, they did that with the my Mark V, but it still doesn't, it's still way too heavy. So I ended up pulling the speaker out of it. Now it's more or less a head. It's just a head living in a combo's shell.
Right. That's what Richie did with his DeVille, because it was just too heavy to carry all the time as a combo. So he just separated it and put the amp into its own separate head enclosure.
I was going to make the switch, and I think Chris, actually, he ended up picking up a Mark V. So I think we're going to try to make the chassis switch at some point. But for a while, it was actually pretty handy because the foot switch fits perfectly. Like if the speaker's not there, you can put the foot switch in there. And so like for the longest time, it was easy to just leave the casters on it, put the foot switch in it, and just roll it rather than carry it. But
sure.
Yeah, because even without the speaker, the thing's still got to be 45, 50 pounds at least.
Damon B, hello, welcome. If you're new, please subscribe. Any opinions on the PV Bravo 112, one for sale locally? That rings a bell. Why?
I can't say I'm familiar with that one. We've had a fair share of PVs come through, but
I've never played a shitty PV, other than they're really, like the little rages or something like that. But
right,
PVs are PVs. They're rock solid, and if it's US built, I would definitely pick it up because I think they're going to go up.
Horses.
I think PVs will be a great investment going forward. Let's see here.
Yeah, one of our favorite ones that comes through every once in a while at the shop is the Delta Blues 115.
Mm-hmm.
That one's a fun one, like especially if you like a tweed style amp, but you want something with a little more projection.
Right.
Having that 15-inch speaker is a lot of fun.
Tone King just got one of those. He showed it off on Friday night.
Nice.
All tube 1990. Well, if it's a decent price, Damon, pick it up because, like I say, that stuff, it's only going to go up in value.
Yeah. Yeah, especially the classic PV stuff. I feel like a lot of people are moving it right now for some reason. And even like the old USA guitars, you can still get bargains on. But
oh, man, those things are so cheap in the US. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, we get them in Denver, or we get people that post them in Denver all the time. Usually you can get like a USA one somewhere between $250 to $450 depending on the model. And
yeah, and they're like 30 almost 40 years old, and they should be worth twice that. Right.
Yeah. One of those, I wouldn't really call it a sleeper because people know PVs. It's just one of those ones that just never really, like you said, until recently it didn't have much of a reason to really spike in value. But
yeah. Let's see. Mel O'Brien says the AC30 is too heavy to gig with, but the AC15 is lighter and is loud enough for most gigs. I have a Bandit and it's good. I also have a 95 Classic 20 and it's pretty good. Nice combo of amps there. Sure.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I guess since Ike always tells me my my thoughts on this are skewed because I'm younger, but I like anything that you can kind of wheel in if you have to, even if it is bigger. Like if you can wheel it, it's okay. And I actually ended up getting like this dolly that'll fold up so that you can usually tuck it away pretty easy.
Sure.
And so any of the heavy stuff I've got, I load it up on that, and I mean it can handle like 350 pounds or more, even though it's collapsible. So it handles more than enough.
Nice.
So I love that thing. But it
when I
definitely
gig with a half stack,
all that, like you just load up the little cart and wheel it in, and you're done.
Whenever in one of my bands, I used to gig with a half stack, and I always bought the other guitar player a beer just so he'd carry my amp every night.
Oh yeah,
well worth it. Well worth it.
Yeah, my buddy Jake used to do that with me from time to time. He's a little bit on the shorter side, so at one point when we were running like the full stacks, it became kind of a necessity so I could get it up there. But
Metalhead Hippie's wondering if you're looking at Glenn Fricker's cock blocker noise gate.
Me? Or the shop? I don't know. I actually can't say I've heard of that one.
Look into it.
Yeah, I was gonna say we might.
Which is a great name for a noise gate too, the cock blocker. Why not?
Yeah. Do you know
Jeff,
that one?
good to see you. All right, keep those questions going. We'll go another 20 minutes or so, if that's cool with you, Dylan.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Awesome. Chuck Booth, I had a 212 Studio Classic with chorus, sounded awesome, but damn heavy. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
I've got an original PV Classic right there, and it's actually pretty light. I was surprised.
Is it?
Ike says nope, so I guess not getting the cock blocker in.
That might have been no, because we're not familiar, but I don't know. Honestly, noise gates aren't something we always get a lot of call for, but the ISP decimators definitely we get those used often enough that
seems to be the industry standard.
The Zool's probably the other one that I always hear, especially within like the metal crowd and like the death metal scene. That one's seems like the one that has.
I used a Behringer. I found when you turned it on, it compressed the tone by say 5-10% and tightened it up about 5-10%. So I was like, okay. So I just turned down the level a bit on my signal on the other end, open it back up a bit, and it was fine. And you just played around it anyways, which I was playing heavier music, so having a tighter signal didn't hurt, anyways.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. In the right application, I don't want to say it's a must, but it definitely is. It's helpful, and it just kind of cuts down on that, on especially like the 60 cycle hum, because the more you add gain, the more you're gonna just get of that. So it's always helpful to kind of tame that. But I'm one of those people too. Normally, I'll just shut my volume off like in between songs.
Yep.
So now it's not really I don't even really.
That's what I would do. Yeah, just not put on my tuner, whatever.
Right. Honestly, I use a lot of older, not older effects, but the what they're going after, what they're recreating is more or less a vintage style circuit. So now there's a lot of hum that just I've come to kind of accept with some of that now.
Right. Mark says the FM212 is very heavy. No, that's a light amp, dude. That's solid state. That's much lighter than any of these amps. That amp would be 20 pounds heavier if it was tube, I'd swear. Well, 10 anyways. Yeah,
once you go to, especially the transformers, once you get into the heavier or the higher wattage stuff, those transformers add a crap ton of weight to it.
Exactly. Which, I don't need that. I don't need the power. I don't need the weight. I barely turn on a 40-watt amp in most gigs, it seems.
Yeah.
In stock, Harem?
Yeah, honestly, the Doom scene now seems like about the only, it's about the only spot that it's accepted and like encouraged to have ridiculous amps.
Yeah. And it's I'm sure it's as much aesthetic as anything else, right?
Well, it is, and honestly, a big part of like doing, because like it's something that a lot of people I think wonder about, or like wonder about the appeal of it, but having like that loud stage volume,
Right.
something about it's just a little, you know, it gets so loud that you have a hard time kind of thinking, and so you kind of just, especially since a lot of that stuff is at a slower tempo, you kind
Right.
of just fall into that tone, you know.
More organic. And
Yeah.
I'm guessing when you gig, you're not putting everything through the PA either, are you?
Not for like small play. I mean, I've had a few spots where we got to have a PA, but normally, I was actually trying to get by without having a bass player essentially. And so, for a while, whenever we would have the option of a PA, we would actually let most of it go to the drums so we could beef that up as much as possible. And then we would end up running stage volume.
Okay.
Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I ended
Whenever
up,
we gig, it was just vocals through the PA. That's it.
right,
Maybe
yeah,
the kick drum.
yeah.
Maybe the kick drum, but rarely. Especially with
Yeah.
the last couple drummers I played with. I was like, dude, you got a heavy right foot. You don't need it to be mic'd unless you're outside, you know.
Yeah. Well, it kind of helps. Like if you don't have a bass player, it helps, especially if you can have just a touch of reverb on the bass drum too. It adds just a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, a little bit more. Not really a pocket, but it feels as if there's a little more low end there, a little more sub. But yeah, no, Doom. I think a big part of it is, like I said, just you know, you're almost playing so loud you can't think, and so it's like you just kind of zone out into that.
Playing at pants shaking volume.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's the best way to do it.
Yep. Yeah, if your pants aren't shaking, you're not doing it right.
That's right. Yeah, I think our stage volume is usually between 110 and 115 decibel. Somebody asked me that one night, so I downloaded a decibel meter app and I just left my phone open. We do sound check, and I'm like, damn, okay.
Yeah, just to see peak low. Yeah. Yeah, I have a buddy that it was funny. It's weird. He's super nice guy, but the only time I've ever seen him even get angry is with sound guys. And he just gets into these epic battles with sound guys, and it's mainly because like his stage volume, and he's, you know, usually on just the guitar amp, his dB will end up being, you know, around the 110 to 115 range, and some of the sound guys, like they just, you know, I've almost seen him get into fist fights with those guys.
Right. Driddle, yes. Texas Toast Challenger, Dylan had.
The driddle.
Ike wanted us to know that he's not wearing pants, so he and Quentin James are in good company. Headed out, Neil? Okay. See you, buddy. Dogpuss says, serious time. Protect your ears. Yeah, unfortunately, I can never wear earplugs on stage because I also sang, and I can't sing on key with earplugs in.
Oh, yeah.
And I find it's the drums that are the hardest on my ears. You put in earplugs, all it does is I lose all guitar. All I hear is bass and drums. And I was just like, well, what I wanted to block out, you know.
Yeah. Well, what earplugs were you? Because to me, I used to use like the foam ones.
Yeah.
I would try different ones, but those never really worked. So I ended up getting those ones that you can put like the little different. Well, they're basically, they attenuate it just a little bit, and like the ones that attenuate the high end is what I ended up going with. So you still hear like all that mid range, but you don't get any of that ice pick stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I might have to check those out. Yeah. That was actually something, because I noticed there's a few booths at Winter NAMM that deal with specialized earplugs and stuff. So I was going to check that out this year when I'm there.
Yeah, it's getting to the point, like we have you know, honestly, like I would never consider doing the church gig stuff, but we have a lot of customers that have been curious about it, even just to go see what they're using. Because like we had this one guy that was describing like this in-ear monitor system, and it actually sounded pretty cool because not only were they more or less earplugs to a point, but you could still hear enough of the stage volume that it was like a kind of the best of both worlds.
Okay.
And he said though, like especially kind of like you said with the vocal part, he needed it to be where he could hear a little bit more of the vocals in there, so he could kind of turn off what he didn't want and turn up what he did, and then leave the stage volume with it, which was kind of cool.
Nice.
But I do kind of feel like at the end of the day, like it, you know, with a lot of it, like a lot of amps never really even get to where they're kind of in that sweet spot until you get into that dB range. And then, like you said, if you're trying to sing on top of that part I can't really attest to.
Yep. Yeah, as it was, we were running the PA basically on the edge of feedback, monitors on the edge of feedback, and then we would turn down as much as possible and keep giving the drummer dirty looks if he started getting loud.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like in bands, especially in rock-oriented bands or metal bands, the drummer determines so much of your volume that like I don't know. Like I said, without the earplugs, I don't know what I would do. But the right ones definitely help, because the ones that I've been using, it, like I said, just shaves off that harmful stuff. So it's not, it's not none of the ice pick is there, but all the mid range is left alone, and it's actually really great for concerts too, because like I can hear everything crystal clear at shows and stuff.
Well, Doug's got to head out. He says no spoilers because he's watching the NASCAR race, but I need to get my shine on. Oh dear Lord. Okay. I got an idea. And yes, Metalhead Hippie, anybody out there that is not subscribed to the Tone King, please subscribe. We're trying to get the Tone King to 100,000 subs. He's about 2,000 away. So please subscribe to the Tone King. If maybe one of the moderators can put a link into the Tone King's channel, that'd be awesome.
Nice. Yeah, he's on the big push.
Yeah. Dave is asking, inner monitors, thoughts? Yeah, we're just kind of touching on that. I would like to try them myself.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of in the same spot. Like at least from what I've been hearing from people, it's intrigued me enough to see. Even the budget ones don't seem too crazy now, in terms of cost. So
I was really against them for years because up until I'd say 10 years ago, they were causing more hearing loss than not using them.
Oh well, yeah, that makes sense. If you start cranking that up to overshadow the stage volume, then yeah.
And I think that's what it was, because it was guys like David Bowie where they were probably still pushing a lot of stage volume in the 80s and 90s.
Right. Yeah, that's why like the ones like I gotta look into them. Like even Mackey's doing ones now that that aren't too crazy in terms of the expense, but they're made to kind of be one half earplug, one half in-ear monitor.
Right.
Where like if you running it in tandem with one of their mixers, you can kind of do your own EQ mix and tie it in with your phone and all that, so you're getting just the stuff you want to hear, and hopefully less of what you don't. But
right. Brad Miller says he uses them all the time. I think that the other thing too is if I was playing where we're putting everything to the PA, so I could have a mix in my ear, it would be different. But since we only ever ran vocals through it,
right.
Lawrence has to head out. See you, Lawrence. Go build some more awesome pedals or spend some time with the family, because it's 7:30 for him. So
nice. Yeah, I can't wait to try some of that stuff once we get it in.
Crowbar says he's fine with in-ears as long as he has control of the volume. Definitely. Yeah. I agree.
Makes sense. I can't really those are something like I can't see the harm in having them. It's more one of those things like getting the right setup to where like you said, you're not just turning up the volume in that to compensate for everything else.
Well, let's see here. Good to catch you live for a change. Got to run later, dude. See ya, Aaron Songs. Have a good one. We'll probably be wrapping things up here shortly ourselves. So
yeah,
we appreciate all the questions here.
Get through.
Yeah, we still got 51 people watching here. That's awesome on the Sunday night. I should mention though, 1 week from tonight we'll have Lawrence Petross returning. So get your pedal-related questions going, or even guitar or anything else, because the man is a vast knowledge base. That's right. Put the pressure on you, Lawrence. Islander Winder, good to see you.
Yeah, I'll have to throw him a few on that, because I always like hearing what the designers and engineers and the builders have to say about that stuff, because a lot of times that the considerations they have versus what the player has, or it's not different, but it's definitely from their standpoint, it's definitely a lot more detailed. So I always like getting into some of that stuff.
And that's the funny part. He's He's been on twice already, and all we've done is talk pedals. We never even got into his lesson academy or his playing career or anything like that, you know. And it's like, yeah, we could, because nobody wants to hear about that stuff. It's like, yeah, you never know. He says, bring it. Okay, challenge accepted. All right.
Yeah, pedals are endless fun. That's why.
Yeah.
You're especially. I mean, now is like the golden age of pedals right now. I mean, there's so many people out there doing it that there's always good stuff to talk about and always fun ones to find.
Yeah, I agree. It seems to be not quite as many coming out this year as years past, but my God, like it was 2 years ago, every single day there was a couple new pedals out.
Yeah. Well, even like some of the bigger or what have become the bigger companies in the boutique side of things, or the guys that have like slowly progressed out of being boutique, like Keeley. Like it's amazing how many pedals Keeley puts out.
Oh yeah.
There's no way we could keep up with all of them. I mean, I guess if we, once we got a bit bigger, we might. But even just trying to keep up with what all of them are and the different, the short runs that they do, and it's almost like he puts out at least a few pedals a month. It seems like so.
Oh, exactly. Dave says, sub to the Tone King, Flipside, Rhett Shull, LPD, and JHS. Thanks for expanding my viewing content later. Have a good one, Dave. Talk soon, buddy. It's always great seeing you, man. Gets expensive. That it does, Aaron. That's why I do a lot of trading.
Yeah. Well, that's what's fun. To me, like pedals are almost, it's almost like having a card collection. If you, trying to get the ones you have and trading for the ones you don't.
It's bad, use that analogy, because I walk into a music store and generally, the pedals are in the display case right at the checkout, and I look at them like, got it, want it, got it, got it.
Yeah, that's we get guys that do that too, and it's pretty funny because, a lot of guys like now, especially now, we're getting close to like the 900 mark. So even like the guys that have amazing collections are having to slow down a lot more. So,
oh, geez.
It's just like honestly, like even with all of us there, we have a hard time like really taking it all in because
sure,
we ended up kind of changing up the showroom a bit. But when you actually have like 900 or so pedals all out, it's it can get pretty staggering pretty quick.
Oh, sure. Okay, Lawrence says, let's talk about the many hyper imposition of pentatonic scales to get every possible harmonic combination. Let's not. That sounds like a Rick Beato stream right there.
Yeah. Just say Dave can handle that, but I don't. It's definitely not my forte.
Bam's mentioning a lot of good channels. Awesome. Thank you, sir. Agreed. Oh, excuse me. Ike says, yeah, it would take a while to at our shop. No kidding. I swear I spend half watching your videos just looking at the background. Ooh,
Yeah.
I want to try this. I want to try that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I mean, now it's, we get the brewery comparison a lot. Well, one, we're in Colorado, so, there's breweries on every corner, but we also get that to where, like, you come in, you kind of tell us what flavor range you're kind of looking for, and then, instead of having just, like, one or two options, we'll have, like, 10. So then most people end up spending a good hour or two just kind of going through all of them, narrowing it down, then doing another shootout. And it's even funny, too. We had one guy, it was hilarious. He actually packed like a protein bar and water and like a whole like little survival kit, and he came in for like 4.5 hours, and midway through he just kind of walked up to the front and sat down on a stool and just started sipping his water and having his protein bar. We're asking him like if he's okay. He's like, oh yeah, man, just taking a break.
Love it. Gotta love that passion. Love it.
Yeah, it's we make jokes about it ever since then about packing a lunch, because it's getting to the point some people they definitely lose track of time at the shop now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I know the feeling. Like I'll go into town to use Ardens internet to upload videos because they have fiber optic, and it's like normally I'm only going to be there 10 minutes to upload a video, but I'm always there an hour shooting the breeze. Right. You know, and then okay, well, I'll pull it. Oh, this guitar's still here. Well, I got to play it one more time before it gets sold. You know.
Yeah, we got a lot of those. Yeah, they got like different kind of regulars that are always coming in to visit their favorites.
Yeah, I miss those days. My dad was one of those guys. You know, it was almost like the show King of the Hill. Like there was a whole group of cronies that hung out at the music store every day. You walk in, you got treated like shit by the regulars. The place reeked of cigarettes because they're all chain smoking in there. It's like, yeah, I miss those days.
Yeah, we so far we don't really have anybody too crusty yet, but everybody that comes through is pretty fun. But we definitely have a pretty steady round of regulars now, and it's pretty funny. Like some of the conversations you'll see, and some of the like I've had customers almost get into arguments, and then I've had other customers like discover that they're like long lost best friends from like childhood, and I'm not even kidding on that one. We had like these guys that hadn't seen each other for like 20 years that randomly walked in at the same time.
That's awesome.
And, yeah, it was like a lot of interesting stuff, but our regulars are a lot of fun. Like we get a lot of guys that, you know, they realize that we're kind of a small shop that's still, you know, still growing. And as we go through the growing pains, like sometimes they'll just kind of stop by and, you know, if we're really busy, like they'll chat with other customers to kind of buy us some time so we can, you know, take our time with the customer that we're already with. And,
yeah,
you know, so we get a lot of support from those guys, which I think it's really cool. That's probably one of my favorite things about the shop is like we actually do have like a solid group of guys that do really want to see us do good. So
that happened. What was it last week? You know, it's usually one guy working at Ardens at any given time, plus the teachers. And he's like, it was a hot day, and he's like, I didn't bring a drink. I was like, well, he's in like same area as a grocery store, so I was like, well, if you want to run over and grab, you know, some drinks or whatever. He's like, well, you know, I can't leave the store. I said, dude, you're going to be gone 5 minutes, 10 tops. If a customer comes in, I'll help them. Like I can shoot the breeze with them for 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Just time. Yeah.
He's like, all right, cool. And he went off. And so I'm like, okay, you know, cool. Ironically, I believe I was wearing a Flipside shirt.
Oh, nice. Well, it made you a little more authoritative.
Yeah. Hey, Will Varela. He says, sorry I'm late. Hello, everyone. Yeah, we're getting ready to wrap up, Will. But all good. Mark, you're heading out. See you, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for anybody that stuck around.
Yeah, we've averaged. It seems like people are coming and going constantly, but we're averaging a good 50 in here all night. So nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, it's funny. I kind of follow up on that one too. Like, yeah, if you hang around the shop long enough, like Ike or I will put you to work for sure. It's kind of funny. We have certain guys that like end up like if we're shipping stuff, they'll help us move stuff. Sure. Or you know, like one time Captain JMO, he helped Ike move like the glass cabinet in one day, and so it's like if you're hanging around for too long, you're gonna end up doing some kind of work.
Exactly. Yeah, I have no problem, and I feel like I'm giving it back. Like the amount of demos that I've done in the Ardens stores, you know, where I'm just setting up a camera on the amp, you know, and just shooting it really low key, low budget, you know, and there's customers walking around and, you know, and they allow me to do that. So at least I can do, especially like, you know, there's a piece of gear there that you know a ton about. Not saying that the guy working there doesn't, but I can say, look, dude, I did a demo on it. I can tell you exactly what it did, or I've owned the product, and they really like that. And
well, honestly, that's something that like being on the retail side of it, like it really is super helpful. Like when guys, if they already own something, because like, yeah, we get firsthand experience with the pedals, but it's not the same as like when you own it. Because like when you own it, you end up knowing it inside and out. Yeah. And so like, we have guys that come in that hang around the shop all the time that they try to help us sell stuff, or they'll, you know, if they see a customer that they know is like on the fence, they'll kind of give them a nudge in the right direction to give us, you know, give us a little help and make sure we get the sale. And also, you know, it helps the customers end up feeling like, especially if they're new, it makes them feel like you know, they're getting a customer review right there, right on the spot. And, you know, if that guy's happy with it, then they're like, okay, well, you know, it's probably worth giving a shot.
Exactly. And I gain a few subscribers out of it too, because they're like, wait, you do YouTube videos? Yeah, but you're local. Well, not everybody lives in Nashville or LA. You know?
Right.
It's like, you are familiar with what YouTube is, right? You know, it's just a bunch of guys. You know, it's like the ultimate public access TV channel.
Yeah, pretty much everybody has their own, you know, PBS.
And hello to Layla's Guitar Daddy and Zach Thong. So I think
speaking
we'll probably wrap things up here. Do you have anything to add, Mike?
Yeah.
Anything to add?
Oh, I was just gonna ask you, like, what random question? What is Canadian PB? Like, what is it? What's the short, acronym?
We don't have PBS like you do because our version of, say, NBC is actually owned by the government.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Canadian Okay, oh, that makes sense.
The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and then we also have TV Ontario, which is kind of PBS, but it's not nationwide. It's just in the province.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we have like national ones, and then we have kind of state
sure.
PBS. So I always wondered. It was some weird conversation I had the other day, and it was like I couldn't figure out if Canada actually had PBS or if it was just like you said.
Well, in a sense, we have PBS because we would get Rochester's PBS station over here. As like all of our American TV is based out of Rochester. That's why Ike and I can talk about TV so much from back in the day because we watched all the same stuff.
Oh, the same stuff. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Same commercials, same everything. So, yeah, definitely. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, yeah, if you want to hold the line, we'll just wrap things up. Thanks everyone that did tune in tonight. If you're new, please subscribe. If you enjoyed it, please leave a thumbs up. Check out Flipside Music at flipside-music.com. Check out their YouTube channel as well. And until tomorrow night, I'll be back with Canucks with Guitars. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow night. I'll probably play some music, answer some more questions, and there might be an unboxing if I get something in the mail, which may or may not happen. So, as I always say, folks, hold those doors open. Let that guy in ahead of you in traffic. Do good things, and good things will happen to you. Karma is real. I'm living the dream. Dylan's living the dream. I hope you are too. We'll see you all tomorrow night. Cheers. Rock on.
Thanks, guys.